The breathtaking Calanques National Park sits like a jewel on the French Mediterranean shore. It draws tourists and locals year-round. But few visitors realize that this stretch of coastline is severely contaminated with toxic heavy metals. Hiking here can be harmful to your health.
All this used to be our playground.
I wouldn't have gone in the water here last summer if I'd known.
Here in Samena Bay, excavators have been removing and disposing of contaminated soil since September 2025. The Calanques National Park stretches from the Mediterranean to the suburbs of Marseille, France's second largest city.
We're in an area of the Calanques National Park that, paradoxically, has both fascinating nature and plant life with many protected species, and an industrial past with numerous former factory sites that have since become villages, now home to the descendants of the workers who once lived here.
Alain Mont cares deeply about the future of this park. He's been working here since it was founded in 2012 and knows what caused the problem.
Huge amounts of toxic waste, the legacy of our industrial past.
Mélodie Gros and Jérémy Durand are in charge of the state-funded cleanup operations.
Our measurements show very high concentrations of heavy metals, even in the sand on the beach. That's why the work will involve replacing the beach material and containing any material that can be carried away by rain or wind.
The pollutants come from long-closed industrial plants, like the Escalette lead factory, which operated here until 1925. The slag is a byproduct of metal processing. At the time, its toxicity was not known. The waste was simply dumped into the sea and the natural surroundings.
The park is, in fact, on very mineral-rich ground, but you can see the difference here. The bottom layer is old industrial slag, but the upper layer is demolition material like bricks and roof tiles.
The rough terrain requires special equipment, like this spider excavator, weather permitting. High waves or strong winds put a stop to the work. The French government has allocated 14 million euros for the decontamination. Until recently, few here were aware of the danger.
There used to be warning signs, but they were quickly torn down. So now there's no information at all. The city hired some young people to raise awareness, but maybe because they were so young, the locals and tourists who came to the bay didn't take them very seriously.
I wouldn't have gone in the water here last summer if I'd known. There were about 100 people on the beach, swimming and having picnics, but there were no notices about it.
We grew up with it. Everyone from around here, everyone who was my age back then. All this used to be our playground. We played on the slag heap up there, in the tunnels, in the blast furnaces.
The tunnels are these old factory vents built along the hillsides. There was also a vent here. The contaminated soil is now being sucked out so that hikers can safely rest here in the future. It's still too hazardous for a picnic.
The studies show that the risk is mainly linked to accidentally ingesting this soil. So it mainly affects children, especially if they put their hands in their mouths after touching contaminated soil.
But some residents think it's too little too late. They also question the effectiveness of the measures.
There's no point. We've been swimming in it our whole lives and no one's died. People died at the factory. What they're removing isn't even 1,000th of what's in the sea.
That's the problem. What's in the sea?
Alain says there was a nightclub at this bay 20 years ago. Cars were parked everywhere and trash piled up. Since the national park was created, the area has become much cleaner and is now popular for day trips. This bay needs decontamination too, but work won't start until fall 2026.
The Mistral wind blows directly onto this area. Industries dumped tons and tons of slag here. The sea did the rest, collecting it all and spreading it through the marine environment.
Melody Gros and Jérémy Durand hope to complete the first phase of the cleanup by spring 2026, giving hikers at least a soupçon of the area's natural beauty.